The explosion threw Park across the corridor like a toy. He hit the wall hard and felt something crack in his chest. Alarms screamed all around him. Red lights flashed. Smoke filled the air so thick he could barely see his own hands. Station was dying. Tried to stand, but his legs would not listen. He could hear screaming somewhere far away. Gunfire, more explosions. The warships had come out of nowhere, tearing through the human defense line like it was made of paper. His unit of 30 soldiers was gone, dead, all of them dead in the first 5 minutes. He was the only one left. Heavy footsteps approached through the smoke, reached for his weapon, but it was gone, lost somewhere in the chaos. He looked up and saw them. 3 of them, tall and silver-skinned, their 4 glowing eyes cutting through the darkness like flashlights. They wore black armor that seemed to eat the light around it. One of them pointed a rifle at his face. Closed his eyes and thought of his daughter. She would be 7 years old now. He had not seen her in 3 years. He hoped she would not remember him like this. But the shot never came. Instead, rough hands grabbed him and dragged him through the burning station. They threw him into a transport ship with other prisoners. Most were injured. Some were dying. Counted 12 humans in total. By the time they reached the flagship, only 8 remained. The ship was called the Eternal Silence. It was massive, bigger than anything had ever seen. The walls were dark metal covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when he looked at them too long. Everything smelled wrong. The air was too cold and too thin. They put him in a cell with 3 other soldiers. One died that night. Another died the next morning. The third stopped talking on the second day and just stared at the wall until guards came and took him away. Never saw him again. On the 4th day, they came for. 2 guards led him through endless corridors. Others stopped to stare at him with open disgust. Some spat on the ground as he passed. Others made gestures he did not understand but knew were insults. To them, humans were vermin, pests, a disease spreading across the galaxy that needed to be burned away. They brought him to a large chamber filled with strange equipment. Medical equipment, he realized. And in the center of the room stood the tallest he had ever seen. She was nearly 7 feet tall with skin like polished silver. Her 4 eyes glowed bright blue, and when she looked at him, felt like she was seeing everything inside him. Every fear, every weakness, every secret he had ever tried to hide. "I am High Commander," she said. Her voice was cold and sharp like breaking ice. "You are Captain Park of the Human Defense Force. You have killed many of my people." Said nothing, there was nothing to say. Walked closer. She moved like a predator, smooth and dangerous. "I should kill you slowly. I should make you scream for days before I let you die. That is what you deserve." "Then do it," said. His voice came out rough and tired. "I am done waiting." Something changed in his eyes. Interest maybe, or surprise. Did not expect humans to be brave. They expected them to beg. "Perhaps," she said, "or perhaps you can be useful first." She pressed a button on the wall. A panel slid open, revealing a smaller chamber behind it. Inside was a medical pod filled with blue liquid, and floating in that liquid was a child. A child, small and fragile, barely 3 feet tall. Her silver skin was covered in dark lines like poison spreading through her veins. Her 4 eyes were closed. She looked like she was sleeping but could see she was dying. "My daughter," said, the ice in her voice cracked just a little. "Her name is, she is 3 cycles old, in human years perhaps 5 or 6. She was poisoned by my enemies, rivals who want my power." Her hands closed into fists. "The poison is killing her. She has days left, maybe hours." Looked at the dying child. He did not understand why he was here. "What does this have to do with me?" "And humans share something," said. "A genetic quirk. Our cells are compatible in ways that should be impossible. The only cure for this poison requires human stem cells, human blood, human tissue." She turned to face him fully. "You will save my daughter. Your body will provide what she needs to survive." "And if I refuse?" Smiled, it was not a nice smile. Then your death will be creative. I will take what I need from your body anyway, but it works better if the donor is alive and willing. The cells bond more effectively. She stepped closer until she was looking down at him from barely a foot away. Save my daughter, human. Give her what she needs to live, and in return I will let you live. Refuse and you die screaming. Those are your choices. Looked at the child again. She was so small, so helpless. Dark poison crawled under her silver skin like living shadows. She twitched in her sleep, and even unconscious, he could see the pain on her face. He thought of his own daughter. What would he want someone to do if she was dying? If some stranger held her life in their hands? How much will it hurt? He asked. Very much, said honestly. The extraction process is painful. It will take several days. You may wish for death before it is over. Closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes again, he looked not at but at the child floating in the blue liquid. Fine, he said. I will do it, save her. Stared at him for a long moment. Whatever she had expected him to say, it was not that. Not so quickly, not without more fight. Why? She asked. She is your enemy. Her people have killed thousands of yours. Why would you suffer to save her? Shrugged, it hurt his broken ribs. She is just a kid. Kids do not get to choose what they are born into. They do not choose wars or enemies. He met's glowing eyes. I have a daughter too. If she was dying and some could save her, I would want them to try. That is all. Was silent for a very long time. Then she nodded once and turned away. Begin the procedure, she ordered her doctors. Keep him alive. He is now valuable. As they strapped to the medical table, as the needles pierced his skin, and the machines began to hum, he looked one more time at the dying child in the pod. Hold on, little one, he thought. I am coming. The pain began. The pain lasted 3 days. They took bone marrow from his hips. They took blood by the liter. They cut tissue samples from his arms and legs. The doctors worked without kindness or cruelty. To them was just a resource, a thing to be used. They did not hate him. They simply did not see him as a person. Screamed until his voice was gone. Then he just lay there, shaking, while machines pumped things into him and took things out. Sometimes he passed out. Sometimes he wished he would not wake up. But he always woke up. On the 4th day, they told him the child would live. The antidote was working, was getting stronger, felt something warm in his chest when he heard the news. It surprised him. He had not expected to care. He thought they would kill him now. His purpose was done. But instead, they moved him to new quarters, a small room with a bed and a window that looked out at the stars. Guards stood outside his door at all times. He was still a prisoner, but he was a prisoner with a bed and a view. A week later, a doctor came to see him. The child has recovered from the poison, the doctor said, but she is still weak. The treatment damaged some of her systems. She will need more help in the coming months, small doses, adjustments. The doctor looked at with something like annoyance. You will need to stay close to her. Your cells must remain compatible. If the poison returns, we will need fresh samples quickly. So I am still useful, said. For now. They moved him again, this time to quarters connected to the child's chambers. He could see her room through a window in the wall. She was awake now, sitting up in bed, playing with some kind of floating toy. When she saw him watching, she froze. Her 4 eyes went wide with fear. Looked away and gave her space. Days passed. Guards watched him constantly. Servants brought him food that tasted strange but kept him alive. He exercised in his small room to keep his body strong. He stared out the window at stars he did not recognize. Sometimes, late at night, he heard the child crying in her room. On the 10th day, she spoke to him. Was sitting by the window when he heard a small voice behind him. He turned and saw standing in the doorway that connected their rooms. She was tiny, barely reaching his waist. Her silver skin still had faint dark lines from the poison, but her eyes now glowed softly with pale blue light. You are the human, she said. Her voice was high and thin like a bird. Yes, you saved me. I helped. The doctors did most of the work. Tilted her head. It was a strange movement, almost like a curious dog. Mother says humans are bad. She says they kill our people and burn our worlds. Some do, said carefully. Some do the same to humans. That is what war is. Are you bad? Thought about the question. He had killed many of them. He had followed orders and pulled triggers and watched enemies fall. Was he bad? He did not know anymore. I try not to be, he said finally, but I am not always good either. Considered this. Then she walked closer slowly, like she was approaching a dangerous animal. She stopped a few feet away and studied his face. Why do you only have 2 eyes? The question was so unexpected that laughed. It hurt his still healing ribs, but he laughed anyway, jumped back, startled by the sound. Sorry, said. I did not mean to scare you. Humans just have 2 eyes. That is how we are made. How do you see things behind you? We cannot. We have to turn our heads. His mouth fell open in shock. That is terrible. How do you survive? We manage. She came closer again. This time she reached out and touched his arm. Her fingers were cool and smooth like metal. She pulled back quickly, checking to make sure the touch had not hurt her. You are warm, she said, are cold. I noticed. From that day on, visited him every morning. At first she just asked questions, endless questions. Why did humans eat cooked food? Why did they sleep lying down instead of standing? Why did they have hair on their heads? Why did their skin come in different colors? Answered as best he could. He found himself looking forward to her visits. The child was curious and bright and completely without the hatred he saw in adult. To her, he was not an enemy. He was just strange, interesting, a puzzle to figure out. After a month, she asked him to teach her a human game. He taught her rock, paper, scissors. She was terrible at it. Her face always showed what she was going to choose before her hands moved, but she loved it anyway. She made him play dozens of rounds every day until her servants complained that she was neglecting her studies. He taught her card tricks. She taught him board games. He told her stories about Earth, about blue oceans and green forests and mountains covered in white snow. She told him about heroes from ancient times, brave warriors who had sailed between the stars in ships made of living crystal. One night she had a nightmare about the poison. She woke up screaming, convinced that the dark lines were spreading again, that she was dying. Her servants could not calm her. Her mother was away commanding the fleet. Went to her. He sat beside her bed and told her about his daughter, about how she used to have nightmares too, about how he would hold her hand and tell her stories until she fell asleep. What stories? Asked, her voice still shaking. So told her about fireflies, small insects that glowed in the dark, filling summer nights with tiny floating lights. He told her how used to catch them in jars and watch them blink. Like stars you can hold, whispered. Yes, exactly like that. She reached out and took his hand. Her small, cool fingers wrapped around his warm ones. Will you stay until I sleep? Looked at this child, this enemy child, this daughter of the woman who had tortured him, whose people had killed his friends, whose empire wanted to destroy everything he had ever known. She was just a scared little girl who needed someone to hold her hand in the dark. Yes, he said, I will stay. When High Commander returned 3 days later, she found something impossible. Her daughter, the pride of the Empire, was sitting on the floor of the human's room, learning how to play chess. She was laughing. Had not heard her daughter laugh since before the poisoning. She stood in the doorway, watching, and felt something shift inside her chest that she did not understand. The human looked up and met her eyes. He did not look afraid. He did not look defiant. He just looked like a man playing a game with a child. She is a fast learner, said. She beat me twice already. Grinned up at her mother. Dodo says I am a natural. That means I am good. Dodo, the child had given the human a nickname, turned and walked away without a word, but she did not order the guards to separate them. She did not understand what was happening, but she was not ready to stop it yet. 6 months changed everything. No longer feared Park. She adored him. She followed him everywhere the guards would allow. She demanded that he eat meals with her. She insisted that he tell her a story every night before sleep. When her tutors tried to teach her lessons, she would only sit still if was in the room. The servants whispered about it. The guards watched with confused eyes. The nobles who visited the eternal silence looked at the human with disgust and disbelief. High Commander's daughter had adopted an enemy as her favorite person. It was a scandal, but did not care about scandal. She cared about chess games and card tricks and stories about glowing insects on a distant blue world. Cared about keeping her safe. He did not know when it had happened, when the job had become something more, when the scared enemy child had become someone he would die to protect, but it had happened. Somewhere between the nightmares and the laughter, somewhere between rock, paper, scissors and stories about fireflies, had carved a place in his heart right next to. He knew it was dangerous. He knew they would never accept it. He knew that one day would decide he was no longer useful and everything would end. But until that day came, he would protect. That was his purpose now. The assassins came on a quiet night. Had been a soldier for 15 years. He had survived ambushes, firefights, and the destruction of station. He knew what danger felt like. He knew when something was wrong. That night something was wrong. The ship was too quiet. The guards outside his door had not changed shifts when they should have. The lights in the corridor had flickered twice in the last hour. Small things. Things that most people would ignore. Did not ignore them. He moved silently to the ventilation panel in his room. Over the past 6 months, he had studied every part of these quarters. He knew every vent, every wire, every weakness. He had prepared for this night without even knowing he was preparing. From a loose panel in the wall, he pulled out a small canister, medical sedative. He had stolen it months ago, hiding tiny amounts each time the doctors came to check on him. He connected the canister to the ventilation system and set it to release in 30 seconds. Then he grabbed the metal leg he had secretly loosened from his bed. It was not much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. He moved to his room. She was asleep, curled up under silver blankets, her 4 eyes closed and peaceful. His chest tightened. He positioned himself between her bed and the door. The sedative began to flow through the vents. 3 minutes later, the door opened. 3 entered. They wore black and carried blades that hummed with energy. Assassins, professional killers sent by his rivals. They had come to murder a child and make it look like the human prisoner had done it. They had not expected the human to be ready. The first assassin stumbled. The sedative was working, were resistant to human drugs but not immune. The assassin shook his head, trying to clear the fog. Hit him across the face with the metal leg. The assassin fell, was already moving, driving the end of his weapon into the second assassin's throat. The choked and went down, gasping for air. The third assassin was faster. He slashed with his energy blade and felt fire across his ribs. He staggered but did not fall. 15 years of combat had taught him to keep moving even when his body screamed to stop. He ducked under the next swing and drove his shoulder into the assassin's chest. They crashed into the wall together. The assassin was stronger but was desperate. He fought dirty, the way soldiers learned to fight when death was the only other option. Fingers in eyes, knee to groin, elbow to throat. The assassin dropped his blade, grabbed it and pressed the humming edge against the assassin's neck. "Leave," he said. His voice was calm and cold. "Or don't, your choice." The assassin looked into his eyes. He saw something there that made him afraid. Not anger, not hatred, something worse. the absolute certainty of a man who would kill without hesitation to protect what he loved. The assassin ran. Behind him was awake. She had seen everything. Her 4 eyes were huge with terror and tears ran down her silver cheeks. "Dodo," she whispered. "Drop the blade." His ribs were screaming. His arm was broken. He could feel blood running down his face from where the first assassin had hit him during the struggle. But none of that mattered. He went to and knelt beside her bed. "It is okay," he said softly. "You are safe. I am here. You are safe." She threw her arms around him and sobbed into his shoulder. She was shaking so hard it hurt to hold her, but did not let go. He just held her and whispered soft words and waited for the fear to pass. That was how found them. She burst into the room with a full security team, weapons ready, expecting to find her daughter dead and the human standing over her body. Instead, she found 2 unconscious assassins on the floor, a third fleeing through the corridors, and her daughter clinging to the broken human like he was the only safe thing in the universe. "Report," she ordered. Looked up, his face was pale from blood loss. 3 assassins, I stopped them. The child is safe." He paused. "I think my arm is broken." Then he collapsed. When he woke, he was in a medical bay. Real medical care this time, not the cold efficiency he had received before. Doctors worked on his injuries with machines that hummed and glowed. His broken arm was already healing. His ribs no longer screamed. Stood beside his bed. "You could have escaped," she said. "The chaos would have covered you. The escape pods were unguarded. You could have run." "And leave alone with killers," shook his head. The movement made him dizzy. "No. She is not your child." "I know. She is not even your species." "I know." His 4 eyes burned into him. "We are at war, human. Your people and mine have killed each other by the millions. My own mate died fighting humans 3 years ago, has no father because of your kind." Her voice cracked slightly. "Why would you risk your life for my daughter?" Was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the question. He thought about war and death and hatred. He thought about scared children crying in the dark. "Because she is a child," he said finally. "Because she was scared and someone needed to protect her. Because that is what humans do." He met his eyes. "We protect children, all children, even the ones who are not ours, even the ones who belong to our enemies." Stared at him. In 300 years of command, she had never met anyone like this human. Her people fought wars with cold logic. They protected their own and destroyed their enemies. The idea of risking death for an enemy's child was alien to everything she knew. But she had seen it happen. She had seen this broken human stand between assassins and her daughter. She had seen cling to him like he was the only safety she had ever known. Something was changing inside, something she did not have words for. "Rest," she said finally. "Heal. My daughter will want to see you when you wake." She turned and walked away. But at the door she stopped. "Thank you," she said, so quietly he almost did not hear it, "for saving her." Then she was gone. Closed his eyes and slept. For the first time in 6 months, he did not dream of war. He dreamed of fireflies. The news spread across the ship like fire. A human prisoner had saved the High Commander's daughter. He had fought 3 trained assassins with nothing but a metal rod and his bare hands. He had nearly died protecting an enemy child. Nobody knew what to make of it. The nobles whispered that it was a trick. The human was playing some long game, earning trust so he could strike when no one expected. The soldiers said he was simply too stupid to run when he had the chance. The servants, who had watched him play games with for months, said nothing at all, but they looked at him differently now. Refused to leave his side. She sat in the medical bay every day, watching the machines heal him. She brought him food even though the doctors said he was being fed through tubes. She told him stories about heroes, trying to copy the way he told stories about Earth. And then Warrior raised his blade and said, "I fear nothing, for my cause is just," said dramatically, waving her small arms. And the enemy ran away because they were scared of his bravery. "That is a good story," said. He was sitting up now, his arm in a healing cast, his ribs wrapped in something that glowed faintly blue. "Mother says I tell stories wrong. She says I add too many details." "Details make stories better. Your mother is wrong." Giggled, then her face became serious. "Dodo, are you going to leave?" The question hit harder than any assassin's blade. He had been thinking about the same thing. The war was still happening. Somewhere out there, humans were still killing each other. He was still a prisoner, no matter how nicely he was treated. Eventually, someone would decide he was too dangerous to keep around. "I do not know," he said honestly. "That is not my choice to make." "But you want to stay with me." Looked at this small silver child with her 4 glowing eyes and her endless questions. She had nightmares about poison and assassins. She laughed when he taught her card tricks. She called him Dodo and held his hand when she was scared. "Yes," he said, "I want to stay." Smiled. It was the thing he had ever seen. 2 weeks later, called him to her command chamber. The room was massive, filled with screens showing star maps and battle reports. Officers moved between stations, directing the vast fleet that commanded. At the center of it all sat the High Commander herself, tall and silver and terrible. But something was different about her today. The ice in her eyes had melted just a little. "The war is ending," she said. Felt his heart stop. "What?" "Negotiations have begun. Your leaders and mine have agreed to a ceasefire. Too many have died on both sides. Neither empire can afford to continue." His fingers tapped against her throne. "Within the month, a peace treaty will be signed. All prisoners will be returned to their returned home, Earth." Should have felt joy. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt a cold emptiness spreading through his chest. "What about?" His eyes flickered. "She will remain here, of course. She is my daughter. This is her home." "I mean, will she be safe? The assassins have been dealt with. The nobles who sent them have been executed. Is protected now." Paused. "She will be safe, human. You do not need to worry about her anymore." Nodded slowly. It was good news. It was all good news. Peace, safety, home. So why did he feel like he was dying? "There is another option," said. Looked up. Has made a formal declaration. According to law, children of noble houses may claim a guardian, a protector who is bound to them by choice rather than blood. It is an old tradition, rarely used. His voice was carefully neutral. "My daughter has declared you as her guardian." "What does that mean?" "It means she is demanding that you stay." For the first time, something like humor crossed face. "She is 3 cycles old and has the temperament of her father. Demanding is what she does." Felt hope flicker in his chest. Dangerous hope. Is that allowed? A human guardian for a child? It has never been done. There is no law against it because no one ever imagined it would be necessary. Stood and walked toward him. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. "If you accept, you would become guardian formally. Legally. You would be granted citizenship and protected status. You would have a place in my household under my protection. But you would be giving up everything else. Your world, your people, your species." Stopped in front of him, looking down with those 4 burning eyes. "You would be alone among enemies for the rest of your life. You would never truly belong here. My people would never fully accept you." Thought about Earth, blue oceans, green forests, mountains covered in snow. He thought about the life he had left behind, the life that had continued without him for 7 months. He thought about, "Can I send a message?" he asked, "to my daughter on Earth?" "It can be arranged." "Then I need to think. This is not a small choice." Nodded. "Take all the time you need. But know this, human." She leaned closer, her voice dropping low. "My daughter loves you. I do not understand it. I do not understand how a child of my blood could love an enemy, but she does, and I have learned that love is not given easily or taken back." She straightened. "Whatever you decide, I will respect it, but decide honestly. Do not stay out of guilt or duty. Stay only if you truly want to." She turned and walked back to her throne, dismissing him with a wave. Returned to his quarters and sat by the window. He stared at the stars for a long time. That night he wrote a message too. He told her about being captured, about being scared, about meeting a little alien girl who asked too many questions and laughed at card tricks. He told her about fireflies and chess games and holding small hands in the dark. He told her he loved her. He told her he was sorry for not being there. He told her that he hoped she would understand. Then he wrote the hardest words he had ever written. He told her he was not coming home. He told her about how she had no father and a mother who did not know how to be soft, about how she had nightmares and fears and nobody to hold her hand, about how she needed him in a way that did not. "You have your mother," he wrote. "You have grandparents and aunts and uncles. You have a whole world that loves you, has no one. If I leave, she will be alone. I cannot do that to her." He told that he would send messages every week, that he would tell her stories about the stars, that he would never stop loving her, no matter how far away he was. "Maybe someday, when peace is real, you can come visit," he wrote. "I can show you what sunsets look like. I can introduce you to. I think you would like her. She is brave and funny and she cheats at chess." He ended the message with the same words he had said to her every night when she was small. "Sweet dreams, little firefly. Daddy loves you." He sent the message. Then he went to find. "I will stay," he said. "I will be her guardian." Studied him for a long moment. "You are certain?" "Yes." "You understand what you are giving up?" "Yes." "And you choose this anyway?" Thought of her four glowing eyes, her endless questions, her small hand reaching for his in the dark. "Yes," he said, "I choose this." Nodded slowly. Something shifted in her expression. Respect, maybe, or understanding. "Then welcome to House Park. May you serve my daughter well." She held out her hand. Took it. Behind them, hiding in the doorway, watched with tears streaming down her silver face. She did not understand everything that had happened. She did not understand politics or citizenship or the weight of what had given up. But she understood one thing. He was staying. That was all that mattered. 1 year later, the universe had changed. The peace treaty was signed on neutral station Omega. Billions of beings watched the broadcast. Human ambassadors shook hands with commanders. Centuries of war ended with signatures on glowing documents and promises of a better future. But Park was not watching the ceremony. He was walking through the station's gardens heading toward a meeting that scared him more than any battle ever had. Was coming. He had sent messages every week for a year, videos of sunsets, stories about latest adventures, attempts to explain why he had made the choice he made, had written back sometimes, short messages, confused messages, angry messages. But she had agreed to come. Her mother, Han, had agreed to bring her. Did not know what to expect. He did not know if his daughter would forgive him. He did not know if she would understand. He only knew that he had to try. Squeezed his hand. She was taller now, almost 4 feet, and her silver skin had lost the last dark lines of poison. Her 4 eyes glowed bright and healthy. "Are you scared, Dodo?" "Yes." "Why? Is your daughter? She loves you." "I have not seen her in almost 2 years. She might not remember me. She might be angry." Considered this. "When I was angry at Mother for being away too much, she brought me presents. Maybe you should bring a present." "I do not think presents will fix this." "They might help." Smiled despite his fear. Even now could make him smile. They reached the viewing garden overlooking the stars. And there, standing by a window of flowering plants that did not recognize, were two humans. One was a woman with tired eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. Han, ex-wife. She had aged in the years since he last saw her. The war had taken something from everyone. The other was a girl, 7 years old, dark hair in two braids, her father's eyes. Stopped, his heart was beating so hard he could feel it in his throat. Stared at him, her face was unreadable. She looked at him, then back at him. "Dad," she said. Her voice was small and uncertain. "Hello, little firefly." The nickname broke something. Eyes filled with tears. She stood frozen for a moment, caught between anger and longing. Then she ran. She crashed into his arms and held on tight. She was bigger than he remembered, heavier. She smelled like earth, like grass and soap and home. He held her and felt tears running down his own face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." Just held him. Behind them, watched with wide eyes. She had heard so many stories about. She had imagined this meeting 100 times, but seeing it happen was different than imagining. After a long moment, pulled back and looked at her father's face. She touched the small scars on his cheek, marks left from the assassin attack. "You got hurt," she said. "I got better. Mom said you saved an alien girl. That's why you stayed." Nodded, he turned and held out his hand too. The child came forward slowly, suddenly shy. This is. The two children looked at each other. Human and brown eyes and 4 blue ones, so different in every way that mattered. "Hi," said. "Hello," said. Silence stretched between them. Then said, "My dad told me you cheat at chess." His eyes went wide with outrage. "I do not cheat, he just loses badly." "That's what cheaters say." "I am not a cheater. You are a—" paused, searching for the right insult. "You are a two-eyed person. You have 4 eyes, and you still can't see the board properly." Both girls glared at each other for a moment. Then laughed. After a second, laughed too. "Do you want to see the gardens?" asked. "There are flowers here that glow in the dark, and some that eat bugs, and one that smells like Dodo's socks." Gross said with delight, "Show me." And just like that, the two girls ran off together, their laughter echoing through the gardens. Watched them go with something warm spreading through his chest. Stepped up beside him. "She's been waiting for this for months," she said quietly. "She pretended she was angry, but she watched your messages every night, the ones where you tell stories about Earth. Watches them too." "Of course she does," shook her head. Only you could get captured by aliens and end up adopting one." Did not have an answer for that. They stood in silence, watching their daughter play with an alien child. Two species that had killed each other for centuries, running together through a garden of strange flowers. "I don't fully understand why you stayed," said. "Part of me is still angry. Part of me thinks you chose her over." "I didn't." I know you didn't," sighed. "Had me, she had family, she had a whole world, had nothing. I understand the math, I just—" She trailed off. "It still hurts," finished. "Yes, it still hurts." They watched the children in silence. Then said, "She seems nice. She seems good." She's kind and curious and brave. She has nightmares sometimes, but she's getting better." Paused. "She asked me once if she would ever see fireflies, real ones. I told her maybe someday." "Bring her to Earth," said. The words surprised both of them. "When things settle, bring her to visit, let her see the fireflies." Turned to look at his ex-wife. "You mean that?" "Wants to know her. They're going to be in each other's lives whether we like it or not. Might as well make it official." His mouth twisted into something that was almost a smile. "Besides, if you're going to be raising an alien princess, I should probably meet her properly." Before could respond, footsteps approached. He turned to see walking toward them, tall and silver and imposing. Other humans in the garden moved away nervously. The High Commander's reputation had spread far. Stiffened, her hands closed into fists, but stopped a respectful distance away and inclined her head slightly. It was not quite a bow, but it was close. "Hand," she said, I believe we have much to discuss." His jaw tightened. "You're the one who tortured my ex-husband. I am the one who gave him purpose, who watched him become a guardian to my daughter, who learned that humans are more than I believed." His 4 eyes glowed steadily. "I am also the one who owes him a debt I can never repay." "A debt?" "He saved my daughter's life. Not once, but many times. He stayed when he could have left. He chose her when he had every reason to choose otherwise." Looked toward the gardens where and were now throwing flower petals at each other. "My people do not understand him. They may never understand him, but I do." Was silent for a long moment. "The war took a lot from all of us," she said finally. "I lost years with my daughter. He lost years with his. Your people killed my brother at station." "And your people killed my mate in the battle of the third moon," replied quietly. "We have all lost. So where does that leave us?" Considered the question. "It leaves us here, in a garden, watching our children play together. Perhaps that is enough for now." From across the garden came running back with close behind. Both girls were covered in flower petals and laughing hard. "Mother Dodo, watch this." Grabbed hands, and together they spun in a circle until they fell down dizzy. They lay on the ground giggling at the sky. Felt tears prick his eyes again. Two children, two species, playing together like the war had never happened. "The council has approved my proposal," said. "An exchange program. Human children and children studying together, learning from each other. They are calling it the Initiative. They named it after me. You have become symbolic, the human who guarded an enemy's child, the bridge between worlds." His tone was dry. "It makes for effective politics. I'm not a symbol, I'm just a man who did what was right when it would have been easier to do nothing. That is precisely what makes you symbolic, Park. You showed my people that humans are more than what we believed. You showed them that compassion is not weakness." She paused. "You showed me." Came running over and grabbed hand. Followed, hesitating only a moment before taking his other hand. "Dodo says there are fireflies on Earth. Real ones that glow. Can we go see them? Can we, please?" Looked at, sighed, rolled her eyes and nodded. "I suppose," said slowly, "a diplomatic visit to Earth could be arranged, for cultural exchange purposes." Cheered, grinned. And Park, former prisoner of war, guardian of an enemy child, bridge between two species, laughed for the first time in what felt like forever. He looked up at the stars through the garden's glass ceiling. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was the Empire. Two civilizations that had hated each other for so long. But here, in this garden, two children held his hands and smiled at him like he was the center of the universe. Maybe that was how peace really started. Not with treaties and ceremonies, not with politicians and commanders, but with children, with laughter, with fireflies and chess games and stories told in the dark. With love that crossed every boundary the universe could create. The stars had never looked brighter. And somewhere far away, on a blue world covered in oceans and forests and mountains of snow, fireflies were waiting to be caught.